Hey guys, I'm Charlie from Reader Turned Writer, and today I wanted to share 25 bookish facts about me. I cannot tell you how many booktubers I have watched do this video, and I have loved every single one of them. I love hearing about their book quirks. I love hearing the things that they do that are the same as me and comparing my book quirks with theirs. I know this topic is really old and a ton of people have done it, but I wanted to do it because it sounded really fun. Bookish fact number 1 is that I can reread a book infinite number of times and still enjoy it. The story never gets old for me, and I just grow to love the characters more the more I read it, and I love finding hidden gems. I forget things about books and I go back and reread them, and I love to rediscover things. Fact number 2, my most reread books are the first 4 Harry Potter books, probably because I was obsessed with them in elementary school. When I didn't know what to read when I was younger, I would just pick up the Harry Potter series and read them again. Never got old. Fact number 3 is that I am pretty conservative when it comes to the book choices that I make. I honestly don't care if other people are not as conservative as me if they want to read about things that make me uncomfortable. I know that I read some books that might make my stepfather uncomfortable because he's even more conservative than I am, and that's fine. I'm not as picky with violence because I tend to skim through the action scenes anyways. I'm that kind of reader. With swear words, I really do like it to be more clean. I don't care about words like hell and damn, but anything past that I kind of have a hard time with, especially like the F word. With sex, I don't really read books with sex in them. If 2 characters have sex, but it's not explicitly telling what's going on, then I'm usually okay with it. But I don't read books with sex scenes in them because I actually think that you should be married to have sex, and that you should only have sex with who you're married with and not read about it, because I think it's a sacred thing that should stay between the 2 of them and not be shared with the world. So that's kind of where I draw the line with books, personally. Number 4 is that my favorite book growing up was Ella Enchanted. I know I said that I loved Harry Potter, and I did love Harry Potter, but Ella Enchanted was my favorite book for years and years and years, and I still love Ella Enchanted. Fact number 5 is that I do read ebooks. I love the convenience of ebooks, and I would rather read a hardcover book, and I love to buy hardcovers, but I read most of my books usually on my phone, actually. Fact number 6 is that I prefer to read books over listening to books. I can listen to books. I usually do that on road trips, or if my husband and I have a book that we want to read together, we'll sometimes listen to it. Fact number 7, I can read anywhere except the car. I do not need to have silence to concentrate on my book. I can read at parties, I can read with the TV going or music or anything like that, but I can't read in the car because I do get car sick. That's something that I have always hated because I've always wanted to read in the car, but I just get motion sick too easily. Fact number 8 is that my favorite author is Brandon Sanderson. There's not very much that Brandon Sanderson has written that I have not devoured. Fact number 9, I really enjoy eating treats while I am reading. A lot of people like to drink tea or coffee, but I actually don't drink tea or coffee, but I really like to have... My family has a really yummy white hot chocolate recipe that I really enjoy to have while I'm reading, or candy or ice cream or something. Fact number 10 is that I cry so easily during books. It's ridiculous. This is especially true if one love interest lives and the other one dies at the end of the book. I will literally cry for half an hour if that happens, because that breaks my heart. Fact number 11, I am easily pleased with books. Not that I don't ever give 1, 2, or 3 star ratings, because I do. I'm more likely to give a 4 or 5 star rating to a book. I've seen some booktubers who are more apt to give 2 and 3 star ratings, and maybe as I continue to read more books and become more analytical of the books, I'll be more likely to give lower ratings, but as of right now, most of the books on my Goodreads are 4 and 5 stars. Although that could partially be because I remember the ones that I liked and forgot the ones that I didn't like when I was younger. I don't know. Number 12, I do want to write novels. I've seen other booktubers who did the 25 facts video, and they said that they don't want to write novels, but I am a booktuber who does want to eventually write novels. I'm going to actually try and do my first novel in November. I've started an outline for it, and it would be the first time that I've actually finished a novel during NaNoWriMo. Number 13, I am almost always reading more than 1 book at a time. And when I say almost, I mean always. I usually have a hardcover book that I am reading, a book next to my nightstand that I read before bed, and a book on my phone. Sometimes more than one book on my phone, and then sometimes I get a book from the library too. And I never have a problem keeping track. Usually they're different genres. It keeps my interest in reading. I always have something else to turn to if I get bored. And it also ensures that I always have a book wherever I go that I can just pull out and read really easily. Fact number 14, I'm sure this one's really common with book lovers, but I have a really hard time enjoying book to movie adaptations. I feel like usually the movies ruin the books. There are a few exceptions, ones that come to mind: Anne of Green Gables, Lord of the Rings, and The Help, but there are very few other movies that I can think of that I really enjoyed that I read the book first. Number 15, I don't put on music or anything in the background while I'm reading. Some people love to have their reading music on, but I am oblivious to the outside world when I'm reading, and so it doesn't matter to me whether there's noise or not. Fact number 16, I am not very good at using bookmarks. I very rarely have an actual bookmark that I'm using. I sometimes dog-ear the pages. I sometimes use the flaps of the hardcover books. Sometimes I use bobby pins, that's really common, or papers that are really close by that I just grab and use. One of the reasons I like reading on my phone so much is I don't have to try and find a bookmark. It saves my spot for me. Fact number 17, I love pretty books. I am definitely shallow when it comes to how books look. I do judge books by their cover, and I love when a book has a pretty cover. Fact number 18, I've only met 2 authors that I can remember. Richard Paul Evans at Comic-Con one year, and Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson teaches at BYU and often does book signings there and at the Orem Barnes & Noble, and when my husband and I lived out there we were able to go to a book signing with him. Fact number 19, even though I absolutely love Harry Potter, I actually do not like the movies very much. There are a couple that are tolerable and the rest I hate, and I think that they basically ruined a lot of things in the movies that I wish they had done better. I know a lot of Harry Potter fans still really like the movies, but I don't. Fact number 20, I skim when I read. This is especially true in nonfiction books when I'm trying to get through information I already know or that I think is unnecessarily padded, which happens in a lot of nonfiction books. It also happens instinctually when I am reading a book and it gets really intense, so I have to force myself sometimes to slow down and actually take in what's in the book and not just skim through it and miss a bunch of stuff. Fact number 21, I try to be a minimalist, but I could never own only like 20 books because I love books too much, and so that is something that I've had to figure out, how to be a minimalist while still owning a library of books. Fact number 22 goes along with that, and it is that I am a collector of books. I like to own books because I like to collect them. Sometimes my collector and my minimalist collide inside myself, where I want to only own books that are really good and that I really love, but then I have a hard time because I want to collect the books. For example, the Michael Bay series by Richard Paul Evans. I loved the first book, but I actually don't really like the rest of the series. I think it's a little bit boring and too long. So I want to own the first book because I really like it. And the minimalist in me says, well, don't own the rest of the series, you don't love it. But the collector in me says, how can you own the first book of a series and not own the rest? That's just an example. Fact number 23, I have a bad habit of buying my favorite books and then giving them away to people because I love them so much and I want everybody to read them, and I think if I give them the book that they'll actually read it. My husband actually has the same bad habit, so it's really bad. I cannot tell you how many Shannon Hale and Brandon Sanderson books we've bought and then given away, and now even though they're some of our favorite authors, we only own like 3 books by them. A funny story with that fact, my husband's favorite book is The Alliance by Gerald Lund. In college he had bought like 5 copies of the book but then given them away to people. When we started dating he bought a copy of The Alliance for me and wrote a little note in it so that he would have an excuse to come and see me, and also just because we both really enjoyed books. Now we're married, so now he owns a copy of the book and we can never get rid of it, and I've actually gotten it signed by Gerald Lund for him at one point for Christmas, and so it's a really special copy of the book and we'll never get rid of it, and it's just funny. Fact number 24, I read more books this year than I have since probably high school. I think this is a combination of a New Year's resolution that I set and BookTube. And finally, fact number 25 is that I have always loved to read, and I probably always will. For as long as I can remember, I have loved books. I was one of those readers in elementary school who would take a flashlight to bed so she could read under the covers and her mom wouldn't know. I specifically remember getting grounded from reading several times. A lot of my memories growing up are putting off homework so that I could read, or not going to hang out with friends because I was in the middle of a really intense book or something. I even remember going to elementary school and having to take those stupid standardized tests and going through them really, really fast, because if I finished soon enough then I could read while everybody else finished their tests. My scores were never super bad, but I am 100% sure that I could have done a lot better on those tests, but I didn't care and I just wanted to read. Thanks for watching my video on 25 bookish facts about me. If you've done a similar video, link it in the comments below and I will go watch it because I love watching these videos. Or if you have any reading quirks that you want to share with me, I'd love to hear them and then we can kind of compare. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.